everyone. Welcome to Michigan College Earth Day 50.5. If you've joined us already today, welcome back. If you are attending this session as your first session of the day, thank you for joining us. We are the Michigan Campus Sustainability Collective, and we are facilitated by the Michigan Sustainable Business Forum. This session for the next hour is Get Out the Vote, how to vote and be a more informed voter. Our panelists today are Wesley Watson, the Michigan Deputy Field Director of For Our Future, Claudia Berry, the President of the League of Women Voters Holland area, and Tina Powlett, Voter Services Director and League of Women Voters Holland area. All right, I'm going to pass along. We'll start out with Claudia and Tina, and I'd love to pass along the mic to you.
Thank you, Rose. I'm going to kick this off, and Tina has our slide presentation, which she is going, can you share that on the screen, Tina, so that we can talk a little bit first about the League?
Yes, there we go.
There we go. Thank you very much. As you can see from the screen, the League of Women Voters of the Holland area is who we represent, and we are part of a larger, well, we are the base, and then there is the state and national, and there are over 1,000 leagues throughout the United States and in Puerto Rico and other foreign countries. What we do is we educate voters. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of information about where we came from, and if Tina will show you the next slide. Yes, this year we are celebrating 100 years. We were formed on February 14th, 1920 by Elizabeth Carrie Chapman Catt. And we were formed 6 months before women received the right to vote on August 26th, 1920. And when we were formed, Carrie felt that it was important that there be an organization that is nonpartisan and that educates voters on their voting rights and also studies issues. So let's look at the 3 main points of what we do. As you can see, we're nonpartisan and we encourage active and informed participation in government. We work to ensure the rights that all qualified voters receive educational programs, have the ability to advocate, and legal filings. We have been a trusted source of information for, as you know, over 100 years. So let's just hit some highlights before we go to some of the most recent accomplishments. We educate citizens about issues, legislation, and candidates. We encourage individual participation in the political process. We inform through in-depth objective analysis. We monitor government activities on all levels, local, county, state, and national. We register citizens to vote. We sponsor candidate debates and public issue forums. And we take actions on issues we have studied. If we have not studied an issue, we will not, but we study, reach consensus, and will take action. We teach citizens and non-citizens about their rights and responsibilities. And we maintain website providing members and non-members with information relating to their roles as active citizens. So let's look at the next slide, which is something that most recently we advocated for, and that was voted on and it passed, and that is the voting rights secured in 2019. And this is the most important because a lot of this is allowing to go on what we're doing right now. You can register to vote anytime. If you go to your clerk's office, either city or township, on the day of the election, November 3rd, you may register at that time, providing you have identification and proof of the address where you live if you do not happen to have your driver's license. You can register over the weekend before an election. This allowed for 8 hours of work to take place before, which normally clerks were not open on Saturdays and Sundays. You can vote by no excuse absentee. October 19th was the last time that you could request online an absentee ballot and have it sent to you. But you may go into your clerk's office, city or township, anytime now, request an absentee ballot, take it home with you. Just remember this year to bring it back to your clerk's office or to put it into the drops box of the jurisdiction where you vote. This amendment that was passed, Proposal 3, allows straight party voting. It allows automatic voter registration, which takes place at the Secretary of State's office when you either renew your license or apply for a new license. It allows online voter registration, and that stopped as of October 19th this year. It requires that our elections are audited. It requires that the military who are serving us overseas receive their ballots in a timely manner in order to have them returned and counted on the day of the election. And it also secures the secrecy of our ballot. So those are all part of what was Proposal 3, which passed on the 2018 election and has gone into effect right now. So a few more things before I turn it over to Tina to talk about how to get information. In person, go to your city or township's clerks, complete your application. You can ask for an absentee ballot in person. You can vote it right there in person and submit it. Or you can take your absentee ballot home and vote at home. We right now, as the league, are recommending that since the deadline for mailing of October 20th has passed, that you take it to a drop box and you can look that up. We'll give you some websites at the end and drop it at the drop box in the jurisdiction in which you vote. So drop boxes are not mailboxes. You must drop it in the drop box that goes with your jurisdiction. And then there's one more slide. 45 days before an election, you could have registered to vote. That all came to an end on October 19th. Again, look, on this weekend, if you can't get there during the week, check your city or township clerk office. They must be open for at least 8 hours for registration and voting by absentee ballot. On election day, if you need to register or update your address, you may go to your city or township's clerk's office and you will be able to do this up until 8 p.m. All registered voters, though, must vote if you are voting in person at their assigned polling location. So now I'm going to ask Tina to share with you, well, how are we going to know about the candidates that we are going to vote for? And again, the league has created an excellent tool for that, and that is vote411.org. So Tina, please share how that works.
Okay, I'm Tina Pollock, and since voting is both a right and a solemn responsibility, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to learn how to become an informed voter. I'm going to walk you through how to use Vote411, this important tool. It's a national database, and most states participate in this database. So even if you vote outside the state of Michigan, if you were a voter from another state, you should be able to look up your information on this website. First thing I'm going to do is share just a short video that provides an overview of what Vote411 is and what information it provides.
When you vote, something powerful happens to your voice. Your single ballot becomes a megaphone. You stand out and tell your community and our nation what you want for our future. Vote411.org is your tool for accurate and unbiased election information on the issues that affect you and the people you care about. Through Vote 411, you can register to vote using our online form that only takes a few minutes to complete, available in multiple languages. Check your registration status and find out where to vote right on the Vote 411 homepage, and get important up-to-the-minute information on the elections happening in your state and local community through the Vote 411 interactive map. Your voice is strong and important. It is a critical part of our democracy. Vote411.org is your tool for all the election information you need. Get online, get the facts, and make your voice heard on Election Day. Powered by the League of Women Voters Education Fund.
Okay.
When you
So
vote,
that is just a quick overview. But again, as Claudia mentioned, you cannot right now vote online, as was pointed out in the film, because in Michigan, at least, that deadline is passed. So just a reminder about that. But Vote 411 contains vital, nonpartisan, easy to understand information and updates. You can check your registration status and deadlines in your state, and view information on both candidates and ballot proposals at all government levels. And after launching in 2006, Vote 411 has grown rapidly thanks to the partnership with MLive Online and the expansion of its offering to cover information on changes to the election due to COVID-19 and other things, and its availability also in Spanish right now. So I'm going to now take us straight through to the actual Vote 411 website and go through trying to vote to get to that website. Let me just see right here. Okay, and here we go. So this indeed is what the website looks like. And we're going to go to find what's on your ballot. And I'm going to put in an address for the Herrick Library as if I actually lived in the city of Holland. And it's going to ask you some questions. And I happen to know what the county commissioner district is and the school district. But if you didn't know the answer to these, you could still go to My Races. And it's going to ask me a choice of my language. The other option would be Spanish. I'm going to leave it in English for right now and ask them to go to My Races. So here we have all the candidates that are going to be on my ballot. And I'll go through a couple of these just to give you an idea. This describes what the presidential race is like and gives you the candidates that are running for president. If we were to look for Joe Biden, we'll find out his campaign information and information on questions that the league has asked for this race and the answers that the candidate has given. These are not our answers at all. These are the unchanged answers to questions that we receive from candidates. If we go to Joe Jorgensen from the Libertarian Party, we're going to see that we don't see answers to the questions. If this happens, that means that the candidate has not replied to those questions. We only put down answers to questions that the candidates have responded to. So we're going to just pick somebody to have for a candidate. So in this case, I'm going to pick Joe Jorgensen. He's going to be my candidate. I could also have gone down to the bottom. Now, this automatically brings me to the U.S. Senate seat for Michigan, which I could look at Gary Peters and see what he thinks. And I could look at John James and find out, in this case, both candidates, major candidates, have answered the question. So if I wanted to pick John James, I could go to the bottom and say, select this candidate. That's another way I can do that. And then automatically it's going to take me to the next race. Now, if I want to skip some, I don't recommend this, but this will give you an idea of all the different races, what you've picked. The one thing that I want to mention is there's State Board of Education, Board of Trustees. There's also judicial races. So one of the things I want to mention is you do have an option of voting straight party ticket, but the judicial races are considered nonpartisan. So you would have to go back to those and fill those out separately, even if you voted a straight party ticket. So these are the judicial races. If I wanted to pick two of these candidates, I could, and then go back to view my races. And then don't forget, there are also proposals. So I would look at this, find out what pros and cons are for the various proposals and vote there. So once you've finished voting for all the races you choose to vote for, you're going to go to vote for, you could go to finish. And when you hit the finish, this will have been recording all your choices. If you want to email yourself a completed ballot with your selections, you put your email right here. If you want to print your completed ballot, you can do that. You can also email it to yourself, especially if you put it up there, and you can share it if you choose to on Facebook or Twitter. So this goes through a lot of things. One thing at the beginning that I wanted to mention is if you go back to the very first page, you can also go to the bottom, and they have a complete checklist for first-time voters, which if you're a first-time voter, it walks you through a lot of things, and you might be interested in doing that. So that is the Vote 411 website, and we're happy to go through that. And so right now I'm going to come back to this. I also just want to go through a few other things. I'll go back and mention that once you have this, you're going to want to fill out, you're going to want to vote. You can take that to your website, to the actual polling place, or you can fill out an absentee ballot. And if you do that, I want to just tell you that we have a few other things that we'd like to share with you about things that you need to remember about filling out an absentee ballot. Read all the instructions, use blue or black ink to fill it out, check both sides of the ballot. There probably are things on the back side of the ballot. And don't forget about straight party and voting for judicial nominees. If you make a mistake, please do not try and fix it. Do not cross things out that may invalidate your ballot. Instead, take it to your local clerk's office and they will issue you a new ballot. When you've finished your ballot, if you want to, absentee ballot, if you want to, take it into your drop box, put it in the secrecy sleeve so the numbered stub is visible, then place that secrecy ballot into the return envelope. And the next one, I'm going to show you an actual example of the ballot itself. This is the mailing envelope. As we said, it's probably late. If you did put it in, hopefully you've put postage on it. If you did mail it, we are recommending at this point you take it to a drop box, but you absolutely, no matter, have to seal the envelope and do something very important, and that is sign the back of the envelope. There's a big box here. It's got a line for your signature and the date that you signed it. And I put another big blue arrow there, so that you have to do that and seal your envelope. And then we would like you to take those to your local drop box. And it has to be the drop box in your voting jurisdiction, not the closest one. If you live in Allegan, you can't drop the your absentee voter in Holland. You have to take it to your voting jurisdiction. And there's a website where you can find that out, michigandropbox.com. And there's a picture of what that website looks like. And then in case you want to track your ballot, you can go to michigan.gov/vote. You go to what's on your voter information, and that will pull up an absentee ballot picture, and you can track to see if your clerk has your ballot and whether or not it's been accepted. And then there's another website, michiganvoting.org, which will give you a plan your vote toolkit, which we hope that you would find helpful. Resources, Michigan Secretary of State, ACLU, and the League of Women Voters, and we're always looking for more men and women to join our organization. And then at the very end, we'll stop sharing and ask if there are questions.
Tina, I'd just like to add, when you sign the back of your absentee ballot, it must match the signature on your voter registration card, the way that you signed up to vote. And if you're wondering how you did that, the outside of the envelope, if it was mailed to you, will come with the way you registered to vote, or it's the way your driver's license says. Isn't that right, Tina?
Yes,
so
that's
it's
correct.
important because they're going to check your signature to make sure your signature is accurate. Otherwise, your vote may not count.
Correct.
So Tina and I are open to questions, or do you want to, Rose, do you want to go to Wesley and then do questions, or how would you like to handle this?
Yeah, I think we'll go to Wesley right now, and then if you could post some of those links in the chat, that would be fantastic. And then we'll come back for any questions.
Okay, super.
All right, Wesley.
Can everybody hear me? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wesley Watson. I'm the Deputy Michigan Field Director for Our Future. I'm going to share my screen real quick. For Our Future is a national organization focused on getting youth to turn out to vote. We're based in Washington, D.C., and we have field teams in Florida, Michigan, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Wisconsin. Our goal is simply to lift the voices of the people and grassroots organizations to drive real change and advance our shared values. For Our Future, original founding sponsors is the UAW, United Steelworkers, National Education Association, American Federation of Teachers, AFL-CIO, and Next Gen America. I just want to give a special shout out. I deeply appreciate this opportunity to talk a little bit about the work that we do and talk a little bit about how are we turning out the votes, particularly towards young people. Let's see if this works. So one of the things we focus on is educational funding. We always want to make sure that our public education system is properly funded. We want to provide support to our public education school teachers. We want to make sure we provide extra funding. Currently, right now, we have partnered with the MEA, which is the Michigan Teachers Union here in Michigan. And we're calling, we're phone banking and text banking voters all across Michigan right now. We're phone banking and text banking maybe about 175,000 people per week, just making sure that they have a plan to go out to vote on November 3rd, and also to make sure they know all the voting rights and voting rules that's out there right now. I want to give a special shout out to Women League of Voters. They do an amazing job in making sure that people are informed. They also just did an amazing presentation. They kind of laid the groundwork for all the voting laws that have passed recently here in Michigan. A couple of days ago was the last time that a person could could register to vote online. If individuals want to register to vote right now, they will have to get registered to vote at their local clerk's office in person. Also, too, we're encouraging people right now to, if you haven't mailed in your absentee ballot applications right now, to go ahead and drop it off at a Dropbox location or drop it off at your local clerk's office as well. For Our Future, one of the things we focus on is local infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're providing our community and our cities and our neighborhoods with a proper funding and infrastructure to make sure that our roads are safe and it's good paying jobs long-term within our communities, economic security. water, environmental issues, and climate change issues. We want to make sure that we're protecting the Great Lakes right here in our region. We want to make sure that we're using renewable energy, and people all across Michigan have safe drinking water. One of the things we're been having a big push so far is social and racial justice. Right now, we're organizing and hosting different town halls with different elected officials, with different community leaders and different organizations all across the state to make sure that we're eliminating racial disparities, whether it's within our criminal justice system or when it comes to voter suppression. We're partnering with local clerks all across the state, and we're doing just local forums talking about voter suppression. What does voter suppression look
like? Hey, Wesley, your mic cut out.
in communities and in our neighborhoods? We want to make sure that everybody have access to vote and everybody utilize their voice to vote. Also, one of the things we focus in on is healthcare. We want to make sure that we want to lower the cost of prescription drugs within our communities. We want to make sure that the Michigan voters are doing their due diligence, and the legislature.
I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Can you hear me?
Now I can, yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Give me 1 second, let me see if I can make sure my Wi-Fi is connected. Good. Okay, hopefully I fixed it.
All right.
One of the things we focus in on our youth right here in our community, and just overall why we want to make sure that young people are turning out to vote, is because right now in this 2020 election, young folks, millennials and Generation Z is the largest voting bloc in this year's election, the largest eligible voting bloc in this year's election. In 2016, young folks necessarily didn't turn out to vote. You know, we didn't have a strong emphasis on voting for as young folks, and we want to make sure that everybody turn out to vote. We want to make sure that everybody just know their rights to vote, and everybody know how to vote. Everybody has a plan to vote. Right now, in Michigan right now, we have an amazing Secretary of State who, since she's been in office, is working with young people, working with colleges, college campuses, working with local clerks here, and finding out how can we provide more resources and make it easy for young people, particularly college students, to vote. One of the things we have been working on is working with local clerks in West Michigan to provide satellite clerks offices on campus at Grand Valley State University and Western Michigan University as well, here locally in Western Michigan. It's currently a satellite clerk's office in the Kirkhoff Hall on campus on the Allendale campus at Grand Valley State University. That's open from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. and that satellite clerk's office is there, so students can get all the information that they need for voting, if they need to register to vote, or if they need to drop off their absentee ballot application. Also in Kirkhoff, it will be a polling location there on election day. So with students being on campus, they do not have to go far from campus to vote. They can just go right there inside of Kirkhoff Hall to vote. One of the issues that we had in previous elections was transportation for students that didn't have transportation to go vote off campus. In Kalamazoo area at Western Michigan University, we have a satellite clerk's office in the Barnhart Center right there on campus, where it's open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., where students can go get all the voting information that they need, and also to drop off their absentee ballot as well. And also they'll be able to vote right there on election day at the Barnhart Center on Western Michigan University Kalamazoo campus as well. One of the things we want to make sure that we're doing is we're partnering with community organizations reaching people that necessarily didn't vote in previous elections, or necessarily are first-time voters. So we're partnering with local community organizations, our local NAACP, and another local organization called Proactive GR. And we're also partnering with faith-based organizations in our communities, and we're also partnering with local sorority. People have voted in Michigan so far, and that is amazing right now. When we look at the numbers, the target audience that we reach, over 980,000 of the people we have targeted have already turned in their absentee ballot application. So that's super amazing within the work that we're doing, and super amazing work that we're doing so far. Right now, we have teams of 5 in West Michigan right now in Kent County, teams of 5 just going around connecting to people all across the county. And with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Awesome. Thank you, all three of you, so much. We do have several questions. The first of which, you guys had mentioned about tracking your ballot, the question is, if you have already sent in an absentee ballot, can you still track your ballot now? If you're not doing it in the future?
Oh, yes, you can go to the website that was on the slide, and it's the state of Michigan, michigan.gov/vote, and just put in your information, and it's going to come up and say, okay, the clerk got your ballot on such and such a date, and then it will eventually tell you that it was accepted or rejected in case you forgot to do something. It should label that.
Okay, and are you notified if it is rejected?
No.
They passed a law that they're supposed to try. The best thing for you to do, because it could take days for them to get to you, they're short-staffed. So the best thing to do is keep going back to that website, and it should say accepted or okayed at a certain point. And then once you see that it's been okayed, then you can assume that it's all right.
Okay, and if it is rejected, what should you do?
You have to go talk to your clerk.
Yeah, you need to go to your
local clerk. Yep.
And tell them
call or go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, good to know.
I also want to make a note that with clerks right now, clerks is doing their best to contact voters. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times the clerks might have their phone numbers, and also that they might have the address of that voter. And so within the city that voter lives, most likely the clerk's office will contact that voter up until election day, or might even just go out to that individual's house to make sure that whatever situations that might cancel or make sure their ballot is not counted at that time, whether it's a signature or something going wrong, clerks will make sure that they will their vote will be counted.
Another question that we've got is a question about proposals and reading proposals, just the challenging nature of the wording of them, and if you have any advice for many of our student voters are first-time voters, and I mean, they're challenging for everybody. So if you have any words of advice about how to read proposals and how to understand exactly what they're encompassing, that would be very useful.
I'll answer that initially. The proposals, they're worded a certain way. The League studies all of these. Being nonpartisan, the League has many issues that we study over time and advocate on, and we have studied both of these proposals. So if you are questioning the proposal and would like a nonpartisan but a studied view, you can go to the League LWVMI, that's our state website.org, and it will explain to you why we chose. In this case, the League supports both of these proposals. if that is important to you. But as I mentioned at the beginning, we do study the issues. We go into great detail and one consensus, and these are two that we support. So if you're looking for language, you can do that. Tina?
And on Vote 411, they have pros and cons for both of these proposals. Various people's kind of talking about it in a little less complex language, why certain people are in favor of it and certain people are against it. So that would probably also be helpful to, if you're thinking about it, to have it reworded another way.
Awesome. Another question that I'm seeing is, what response should students say to their peers who are of the mindset that the vote doesn't really matter, or it's not worth the effort, or what should a concerned student's response be to one of their friends?
We'll let Wesley take this.
I think, it's just really just having that conversation with the individual and just letting them know that your vote matters. I have this conversation in my organization, have this conversation with a lot of people on the ground, and we let them know, like, hey, elected officials, they know who voted and who didn't vote. And when it comes to policy making and what's happening in their community, it's really, really important that people get involved, because politics starts local first. And, people can get distracted or be disencouraged by what's happening at the national level. But it's a lot of issues. And if you want immediate change happens at the local level first, at your local city council, or with your local mayor, or your county commissioner, or with your clerk, or with your judges, or with your prosecutor attorney or district attorney. It happens locally, and it's very important just to get involved and stay engaged. And also, when we look at voter suppression and things like that, if voting wasn't important, why are people making it hard for a certain group of people not to vote? A lot of people have fought for our rights to vote, and a lot of people have died for our rights to vote. And so we must always participate in the election and always participate in what's going on. Also, I want to add, when we look at our public education system right now, it's important on who we elect to our local school boards as well, because if we want something done at our local level in our school districts, it's very important that we advocate the issues that we want to those school board leaders. And it's ultimately the school board leaders can make that change happen within our community. So always get involved, always stay engaged. We want to put ourselves and our community in a position where we don't want to demonize anybody for not voting, but we want to encourage them to say, like, hey, do you have a plan to go out to vote? We don't want to say that, are you voting or not, or why you're not voting. We want to just say, do you have a plan? Do you have a way to get to the polls, or have you got your absentee ballot yet? We want to have these type of conversations and these questions, and encouraging people always to vote.
May I just add, because we talk about voting, and you have to think about the down ballot on the voting, as Wesley did an excellent answer there. It's the local level where your votes count. And the school board election in Saugatuck this past spring passed by 3 votes. And if 3 people had chosen not to go, or 4 people had chosen not to go, it would not have passed. And there would not be the changes that needed to be done in the schools. So your votes do count. And they called a recount, and they were right. It had passed by just 3 votes.
Awesome. Another question is, Wesley, you mentioned that there are opportunities for students to get involved with Get Out the Vote efforts. Can you recap those or share a link if it's not too late to get involved?
Yeah. I will say, with our organization, For Our Future, we're currently looking to hire canvassers. We're currently paying canvassers $25 an hour to canvas and door knock. And so if students are interested in getting involved, you can go to forourfuturefund.org and people can get involved. Or just Google For Our Future or go to our social media page For Our Future, and you can find ways on how to apply for some of our canvassers positions all across the state of Michigan, really all across the nation. Also too, it's getting a little late, but also encourage people to be election workers as well and poll workers as well, especially during this time within our current pandemic. We have been getting a lot of people talk about, hey, we need more young people to get involved. We need more young people to be poll workers and election workers. Go to your clerk's office, find out how can you get involved. I think right now they are doing trainings. The clerks are doing trainings right now on being election workers and poll workers. So I think it's not too late to be a poll worker, but get involved at that level. Also too, if it's other local organizations like the League of Women Voters or the local NAACP or other local organizations like Proactive GR, if you're in the Grand Rapids area, you can get involved as well. It's so many different avenues and different ways to get involved on campus. Even if you're at Western Michigan University, it's a local student organization called We Vote. Also, at Grand Valley State University, it's another student organization. It's actually with Grand Valley with their community service learning center, where they have a lot of volunteer opportunities in getting involved within voting and hosting different virtual events about voting. They're also hosting couch parties and text banking parties, reminding young folks and students to vote right there on campus at Grand Valley as well.
I'm putting a website in for you can go to apply to work at the polls. You have until October 29th to sign up to do this. So I'll just post it in a minute and you can go there and look if you're very interested. We need poll watchers too. So there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Can you actually expand on that a little bit, poll watchers?
Tina, do you want me or you?
You can go ahead.
Okay, you're going to ask me, and now I'm going to have to look up what they do.
Okay.
Oh, well,
I remember where I put my poll watcher stuff.
Well, it's just a poll worker, a poll watcher is just, somebody there to make sure that people are following the rules. You got it now right in front of you?
The watchers, they have to be registered to vote in Michigan. They don't have to be registered to vote. They don't need credentials, but they must remain in the public area.
Yeah.
Has the right to look at the ballot book, yes, but only as permitted by the precinct. You just sort of are watching to make sure that everything is happening correctly at the polling site and that people are not wearing party paraphernalia or anything like that. You really cannot challenge them, but you can report it afterwards, and you may use your cell phone in the polling place if you have disruptive behavior. So your main reason is remain in the polling place until the election inspectors complete their work and may obtain the vote results generated in the precinct after the polls close. So you're just watching what happens, but you are not challenging people in their right to vote. The others are poll challengers, and that does require some training from
Right.
the clerk, the county clerks. Is that right, Natina?
I'm not sure who gives it, but yeah, there is training.
Well, I'm going to put this up here and you can sign up and they'll tell you where the training is. Okay.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have anything that they want to wrap up with? Any closing thoughts?
I want to just reiterate that if you are returning your absentee ballot and you've done everything correctly and signed it correctly, The last most important thing you need to do is put it in the drop box of the precinct where you, or your jurisdiction where you vote, because the clerks are going to be swamped. And it's not that they don't want your vote to count, your ballot to count. They may not have time to get it to your voting
correct.
jurisdiction.
Right. Yep.
That is why we're stressed this so much. So while you might have done everything else correctly, you still may have a problem if you use the wrong drop box for your ballot.
I want to end on two things. Not so much within this previous election we had in August for the primary, but in March for our presidential primary that we had in March. Working with young people and working on college campuses, one of the things we saw that a lot of students wasn't registered to vote. And in Michigan right now, we have same-day voter registration.
Yes.
So one of the things that we saw that was a big concern, especially with students at Michigan State and Lansing, is that students wasn't registered to vote. So on election day for same-day voter registration, you can't register to vote at the polling location, but at the clerk's office. And so one of the things we saw, and a lot of the things we try to troubleshoot, is that a lot of students was waiting in line up to 3 to 4 hours in East Lansing to vote, to get registered to vote. And so I'm encouraging people, if you're not registered to vote right now, get registered right now at your local clerk's office. It's satellite clerk offices on pretty much all college campuses here in Michigan right now. So if you're not registered to vote in between classes or in between work schedules, really go get registered to vote in person. And also if you're having any issues, I'm sure we're working with the ACLU. In March, we had this situation where we was encouraging people to stay in line to get registered at the clerk's offices, and we will provide pizza and stuff to students at the clerk's office as well. So if you're in line to get registered to vote at the clerk's office on election day, please stay in line, and it will move. It will move quickly. And the last thing I want to make a note is here in Michigan, if you do have a criminal background or a felony, you can vote in Michigan. Even if you're currently in jail awaiting trial and or haven't been sentenced yet, you can still vote right now. That's one of the voter suppression issues that we see a lot is people tell felons that they don't have the right to vote because they're a felon, and that's a false narrative. I want to give a special shout out to the City of Grand Rapids clerk who is working, who is going every weekend to the Kent County Jail to register people to vote, and also to pick up absentee ballot applications to people who are currently in lockup right now, that's awaiting sentencing or awaiting trial. So within your city or within your communities, if you know anybody that is waiting sentencing or waiting trials, they can still vote. They can vote absentee as well. And special shout out to our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, who is also working with the Michigan Department of Corrections and providing voter IDs and state IDs to people who are re-entering back into society as well.
And another thing we should add is also if you are homeless, you can use a shelter where you may be staying as your address, and you do have the right to vote. Did I miss anything there, Tina?
Correct. You can use cross streets, and if you have someone that's willing to accept your mail, like a church, you can use that address as well. So plan your vote and vote the plan.
Yep, plan your vote. Use the plan your vote.
Yep.
Rose,
you're muted.
You're muted.
Thank you. That's the first time today. That's exciting. Thank you all so much. All of your input is So valuable. All the information that you've given is very, very valuable. And we will spread this far and wide. Hopefully everybody on here learned something and they'll be able to spread that information as well. And all of this will be available with a recording that we'll send out to everybody who attended and all of the registrants for the entire day's conference. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great work. Thank you.
All right.
Our next session is going to start at 3 o'clock, and it's a bit of a follow-up to this session, actually. We are going to be focused on we're going to be focused on how to align your sustainability values with different legislators and how to vote after researching and know who aligns with your sustainability and environmental justice values. And that will be a session from the League of Conservation Voters. So please join us again in 10 minutes at 3 o'clock for that session.